Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to focus on variable declarations in the Rust programming language. And a variable is basically a location in your computer's memory, and by that I mean the RAM. Okay, so it's a location within your memory where data is stored during the runtime of a program. And in Rust, the way you declare a variable is to start with the let keyword, and then you bring the variable name. So this is not a valid code, I'm just writing it for you to see how things are done. So you bring the variable name, the colon, and then you optionally, I'm going to make both of them optional. So optionally, you can include the data type, and then you bring the equal to, and then you set your initial value. Okay, sorry, you set your initial value. This is the pattern that we're going to follow when declaring variables. So let's declare one variable. Let's assume that I want to create a variable that is going to store the age of somebody. So I'll say age, and then I bring the colon, and I say I32 to indicate that it is going to be a 32-bit signed integer. Because ages can never be negative, I can also say U32 to mean it is an unsigned 32-bit integer, and I'm going to put in the value of 56. Okay, don't worry about the different data types out there because that is going to be your objective for the next video. So now we have this variable here. How do we use it? We come down here and we can do print ln. Let me increase the font a bit. Yeah, so we do print ln, and I'll say age, and I'm going to put here age, then semicolon. So let's come and compile and run our program here, and you can see that age is equal to 56. Okay, so we have this beautiful program that is very simple, demonstrating how to create variables. Now the first shock that you will be met with once you start learning Rust, as we are doing, is the fact that variables are immutable by default. So what it means is once you create a variable and assign a value to it, that value cannot be changed. And you might be wondering, okay, so why do we call it a variable if it cannot vary in the first place? And the short answer is that the creators of Rust had to make this decision because of the approach they took to solve some concurrency issues, especially with regards to race conditions that happens when one process or a thread changes a value that another process or thread is reading. These are all things that we'll be talking about. So how do I prove to you that you cannot change? Let's come here and I say age is equal to, let's say the next year have come, so this person is 57 years old, and let's see the errors that we are getting. The first one here says value assigned to age is never read, which also makes sense because on line 3 we are saying age is equal to 56, and without doing anything with it, we come to line 4 and say age is equal to 57. So we might as well just start by saying let age equal to 57 because we are not using the previous value when it was 56. So that is what the compiler is complaining about. Let's see. So this is a warning that the compiler is generating for us, and over here it is actually an error which is going to prevent our program from compiling successfully, and it says cannot assign twice to immutable variable age. So let's stubbornly go ahead and try to compile and run our program, and let's see. It is going to tell us the same thing. It is saying cannot assign twice to immutable variable age, and this is the warning that we received. These are warnings that we can turn off, but for good practices we are not going to turn them off. Okay, so how do we make this variable mutable? The way to make it mutable, first of all, let's solve this warning that says the variable is never used. One way of using it is maybe let's print it. Okay, so I'll say age before next year. Okay, and then here I'll say age after 1 year. Okay, so if I save this, you see that the first warning that said the value is never used has gone away because of course we have used it in the next line. Now it says age is equal to 57 and we still cannot assign to it, and the reason is that by default your variables are immutable. So the way you make them mutable is to use another keyword called mut. So basically what we are saying is that now we are creating a variable that can change. So this is very similar to what is provided by most of the programming languages out there. And in case you're wondering, why do you need to specify the data type? It is not always compulsory for you to specify the data type, because the compiler is smart enough to infer the data type of a variable from a context. So if I remove it, the compiler knows that 56 is an integer, so it is going to assign an integer data type based on the processor that is this program is running on, and it's going to assign that data type to the age variable. Okay, so now let's go ahead to compile our program and run it. So now you can see that it compiles successfully, and everything is working as expected. One other surprising thing about Rust is the concept of shadowing. So what shadowing basically means is that we can declare a variable that has, like, we can declare multiple variables that have the same name within the same scope, and the most recent declaration is going to shadow the previous ones. Okay, so let's say I said let mute age is equal to 56, and if down here I also said let mute age is equal to 57, let's see, it says variable does not need to be mutable. And the reason why it does not need to be mutable, you know, the compiler is very smart. It has seen that we are making it mutable, but we are never changing it anywhere in the code. So it looks at the code and it says, okay, based on how you have used this variable, it doesn't make sense that you're making it mutable. So this is a warning. We can turn it off, but it is good practice to do what is right. And so I come down here and I say age is equal to 57. Now do not be confused. This age on line 5 is different from the age on line 3. And the reason is that because line 5 comes after line 3, any subsequent code after line 5 that references age is going to use the last value or the last declaration of age, and hence we say that the age declaration on line 5 has shadowed the declaration of the variable age on line 3. So these are some of the things that might surprise you when you start learning Rust. And always don't forget that Rust is a statically typed language, and so the compiler has to know the data type of your variables before it compiles. This is different from programming languages like Python and JavaScript, which are dynamically typed, which means that at one point in time a variable can be a string, another time a float, another time an integer, and something else. So this is it about variable declarations. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video when we talk about the different data types out there.